Hey, what's up y'all? Jamie from Palette here with another video. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I went out and I got some sun today. But anyways, we are here with episode 3 of the Legend Plays series that I'm doing, where basically I'm going over different techniques that you can use that apply PvP skills to try to win matches, including some of the toughest situations you might face in some matches. I had a viewer request that I show how to use this team that I'm using to handle Galarian Stunfisk, aka G-Fisk, leads. And so I picked 2 battles that I had recorded and that do fit that sort of requirement. And then I also made sure I picked 2 battles where I use a similar technique in order to actually create a win condition, or you might say to even enhance the win condition for the way that it was going. So I call this technique the Outnumbered Closer technique or win condition. So what does that mean? Basically, this doesn't mean like, oh, they're only left with 1 Pokemon, and because their second one fainted, and so now you outnumber them with your remaining 2. It doesn't necessarily mean that. That might be true for this to work, but what I mean by that is there's a moment where you make a deliberate switch from one of your Pokemon to the other in order to try to reduce the opponent's ability to take on both. And basically you want to reposition both of yours so that outstrips their ability to win that game. So let's just take another look at the team that we're using today. And so that is the Smash team. Shout out to Smash King. We've got Umbreon, DD, aka Defense Deoxys, and Shadow Nidoqueen. Alright, so I'm going to jump into these battles, and here we go. These are going to play at, I think, maybe 125% speed. I don't have to talk through, I think, quite as much until the end. So I'm going to try to focus on how I'm playing the G-Fisk, in both these battles as requested, but I'm also going to focus on the close. And in general, I'll just walk through my decision making throughout the match. Alright, let's go. First up, we see I have a little bit of, and this is sped up, but I have a little bit of a queue time wait. And then we see the G-Fisk lead. And so basically I'm going to charge up to either right at or right under 2 foul plays. And usually I'm trying to CMP with them. Let's see if they did. Nope, they didn't. This should be the CMP here then. Should see a first Earthquake. That was an apparent CMP. They ended up getting their fast move through. So it wasn't actually a true CMP there. Okay. So they're going to get 2 Earthquakes off, and then I'm going to be able to get their Stunfisk very low, and then it's going to take a Rock Slide to take me out. Now, if they have a Ghost in their backline, then it's going to be hard for this team. So they're going to go ahead and throw the Rock Slide right before I actually complete my last Snarl, and right before I can get the energy that I need to take on another move. Then I come in with DD to actually start getting farm, and there goes the G-Fisk. Basically, they wanted to beat up my Umbreon, their G-Fisk. I wanted to do the same, and to their G-Fisk. And so neither of us shielded, and G-Fisk won the zeros, and so now we see they brought in Medicham. And I go to Snipe. Basically, I wanted to test, I don't normally play it out this way, but in this match I wanted to test what's their third Mon. And in this situation, they found it valuable to bring the Pidgeot in instead of stay in and get my shield with like an Ice Punch or something. And that makes sense because they used Pup, right? So that was part of my decision making there. I know that I can basically commit one shield and farm down here and leave with energy now against the Pidgeot, and now I get to throw energy at the Medicham, and we're going to see some debuffs. I throw one fast move and throw the next Fang. So this thing is going to be debuffed. We got the first shield. Now that's where I made the swap. That's where I outnumber. I could have stayed in and they could have farmed down on my Nidoqueen, and instead that's where I made that deliberate swap. I don't know why they don't shield. Maybe they just see the writing on the wall and think it's over. But that's the kind of outnumbered close that I'm talking about. And so it denied them from getting further energy, and it also made it so that if for whatever reason they were actually able to get through my DD, they would probably have spent all their energy, and I still have Nidoqueen left over to take them down. I don't think they're going to get through the DD though. Alright, so in match 2 here, we see this G-Fisk went ahead and threw Earthquake basically as soon as they got it. They've built up a little farm here. I'm going to go for 2 foul plays. There we go, there's the second one. So actually now I can do 3. Let's see what they decide to do here. Okay. Should be able to do one more. Oh, they give up Switch. So this player, they make me wonder, okay, why'd you give up Switch? Is this like G-Fisk Double Charm? Where you brought in your Charmer that has faster access to a charge move, like we just saw with the A9. And so maybe they're trying to bait out the Nidoqueen so that G-Fisk can try to clean it up because they have a little bit of energy on it. So that's my thinking. I'm not sure. I mean, they could have threatened a Rock Slide there. I'm not sure what they wanted to do, and maybe they're still thinking through that themselves, but they end up letting this go. And so it looks like maybe their thought process was for the Trevenant to come in when Nidoqueen is empty on energy, which is not a bad strategy. But here we see my timer is up, and I save the Queen. And they're building energy, and then here's where I go to threaten the Psycho Boost, and it forces him to throw that Shadow Ball. I come back in Queen to the point that basically I can just Fang down. But either way, I had the Umbreon there at the end, should it need to come back in. So basically, the way that I set that last close up was that I did the deliberate switch out because they could have just farmed down on Nidoqueen, which I didn't want. I did the deliberate switch out to the Deoxys and I kept my shield intact too. I didn't use the shield on Deoxys. Basically did the deliberate switch out, so I still have a little bit of an Umbreon, and I think it still has a foul play at least. And then I have Nidoqueen in case it needs to come back in. And now I've brought in DD, which it does lose the matchup if I don't shield. But it wasn't one that I needed to win. I just needed to do the same thing that they did to me, which was basically they sacrificed their G-Fisk, and they waited until Nidoqueen was dry after using the Earth Power, all of its energy to throw that, and then they brought in a Trevenant. So what I needed to do there, or felt that I should do, was reposition the 2 Pokemon who might be able to bring this game home, which was keep Umbreon on the bench with a foul play, and then keep Nidoqueen there, should it need to come back in, because their Trev was already poisoned at this point, and new poison jabs were just only going to add to that, they're gonna do even more damage now. So by sending Deoxys in, I'm basically doing what they did when they sent their G-Fisk in, which was here's a target to throw your energy at, and in order for them to avoid taking that Psycho Boost, they had to count the DD's moves, and then they had to say, okay, he's at the boost now, let me go ahead and CMP, and I'll throw the Shadow Ball, because if I bait, they had to think if I bait the C-Bomb, and they don't shield it, then they still get to throw the boost, and then they get to potentially keep on countering, and then I'm without a shield. And I mean, basically, I had to force them to Shadow Ball, which means they're not going to be as eager to now throw at Nidoqueen or Umbreon when I bring them back in. And so basically, the outnumbered closer mechanism in both of these battles, I used it in order to also control the energy that the opponent is getting. And so that's probably going to be a common theme in a lot of these plays. And if you saw episode 2, the standstill technique, then you saw that that was also about controlling the opponent's energy management that they get as well. And in both of these battles, the outnumbered switch made it so that I switched to something that either, like the Medicham in the first battle, that there's very, very little capacity for it to get through that DD, especially if I still had like a shield, which I think it did. And then, let's see. Yeah, I still had a shield. And then in match 2, we see I just replicate what they did. So I see that they put that G-Fisk back in as a target and tried to decide that they were going to go with the Soul Closer of Trevenant. But if they had just threatened my Nidoqueen, if they had actually used a dual closer approach with their G-Fisk and their Trev, they might have won that and put up more of a fight. Basically, I would have had the opportunity, I think, to have DD come in that match, and instead of being a moving target, if their G-Fisk beat my Nidoqueen, then DD gets to come in and start farming. I would have had to wait my clock. I would have had to make sure I can still pull the DD out, so that way that I can control the energy on the Trevenant so that they don't get to do like a complete farm down on my DD and then throw that energy at Umbreon. So you can see that in deciding how to implement some of these techniques, you also want to sort of keep tabs on where the opponent's energy is, and that can often be effective in flipping a lot of these matches. In this case, in match 2, I don't know why they switched out to the A9. I guess they were just super desperate to make sure I wasn't going to like shield the last Rock Slide or something that the G-Fisk would throw. But in doing that, they should have continued to try to clean up the Nidoqueen with the G-Fisk, because then that puts more strain on the Pokemon I have left and what they can accomplish. They chose not to do it that way, and they chose to try to do just the single closer, and then that's where I was able to say, okay, I can use this outnumbered closer technique, take my Nidoqueen out of the picture here, which could have been KO'd by, I think, a Seed Bomb at that range. But I removed that possibility by bringing in the DD, basically replicated the same technique they did where they had the G-Fisk as the target, and that brought that game home. So when you're implementing this, watch out for what the opponent does, try to find a way to adapt to it, and see if you can manage their energy by doing stuff like even switching out to something else that even if DD could lose that matchup, it actually helped manage their energy, because that Trev, again, it had to throw Shadow Ball, which means it had to drain more energy. Alright, so keep this stuff in mind. I hope you enjoyed this video. To the viewer who requested the 2 G-Fisk battles, definitely follow up with me and let me know if this was helpful. And to everybody else, if you're liking this series so far, please like, share, follow, comment. I definitely want your input. With that said, I'm going to say peace out until the next video. Bye, guys.